Hello, my name is Dan Johnson and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the best of Big Finish's 2023 range when it comes to the Hooniverse. And it's been a very good year for them this year. They've had plenty of interesting releases, such as Once in Future, which is a very interesting experiment. They've had a big Torchwood saga. We've had all sorts of stuff throughout the year. I've been following along almost like a Big Finish calendar. So as I go through these releases, they actually do relate to the season and the time of year in which they release. But I've linked certain audios to certain jobs and certain houses by that effect, which is really a bit strange. But there's plenty of releases next to me. I must crack on because I'm going to run out of space on the camera because I can easily talk about this for a very long time. We have Torchwood. This is called Torchwood Among Us. It's the most recent saga that they do. They've done 2 previous sagas that I have since ordered because I absolutely loved this. Month by month, I was so incredibly excited for this next release because I haven't really felt anything like this. In fact, I feel like the ideas in this are better baked than they are in the show themselves. I mean, this series is not perfect. There are certain episodes that I think are a little bit lacking, but I just loved every story nevertheless. There are episodes in here that are my favourite of the year. Cuckoo in the second box set is absolutely phenomenal. And the writing that is on display in some of these sets is gorgeous. Another thing I've absolutely adored, which ends next month with Victory of the Doctor, is the 11th Doctor Chronicles, I believe they're called. If you're looking for something to get yourself into Big Finish and you're a big fan of the 11th Doctor era, I've found these an absolute treat. The new companion, played by Safia Ingar, is absolutely brilliant. I love the dynamic. Jacob Dubman's impression of the 11th Doctor is so on point with every single detail that I don't imagine somebody doing an impersonation. I imagine the 11th Doctor standing there and just seeing this very flamboyant, well-written Doctor fighting off against various things. There's a Christmas story. There's a weird sort of meta episode about storytelling. The Cyberman story particularly is extremely traumatic, and it could do with having some sort of warning on it, because if it was an episode of Torchwood, you'd definitely put a warning on it. And this doesn't seem to have anything like that, which is a surprise to me. I'm terrified for February and the final box set, which ends Jacob Dubman's time as the Doctor, completes the companion's journey. I am very scared what's going to happen to these characters because I've become very fond of them over the last year or two. And speaking of companions, we have a new companion for the 8th Doctor who's entitled Audacity, and they are a Regency no funny business character. And then in the second box set, the dynamic between the 8th Doctor, Audacity, and Charlie is absolutely brilliant. I look forward to seeing many more adventures from these guys. The Cyberman 2-parter in this first set is absolutely brilliant. It's a story that you feel like you're going to be lost by, that things are going to be too confusing, but the entire way through, the whole 2 hours, I knew what was going on, and it was just a brilliant action story. I would briefly like to talk about Class. I know it's probably not the best release of the year. This is essentially a story from the perspective of Charlie, where he recaps the first series and talks about various elements and details in his relationship with Mateo and things like that. And it's just a really nice, sweet story. It is also the most excited I've been at the end of an episode all year. And I don't want to spoil anything, but I would suggest that you listen to it if you're a fan of Class. I'm very excited for what the future brings. Up next is Gallifrey War Room, a new annual tradition from Big Finish to release a Gallifrey set. Last year, they started off a brand new series for Gallifrey entitled War Room, which I decided to pick up with no foreknowledge, which may have been a partial mistake. But I have done a little bit of reading up, and with the second release here, Manoeuvres, the series, the saga, I suppose, has got into full swing, and I find the politics and the interactions between these characters and this war room dynamic really fascinating. And plus, they're all individual stories set with around the Time War, set in Gallifrey. They're a lot of fun. I look forward to each release. I'd briefly like to talk about the Ninth Doctor adventures as well, which stars Christopher Eccleston, of course, but features Adam Martin, who I've interviewed for my podcast. That's why I wanted to mention it, by the way. No, but these are really good episodes. But every single time that one of these releases comes out, I get very excited because we are bound to get 3 really good stories from Christopher Eccleston and this production team. I don't want to be negative, but there has actually been 3 releases by the Ninth Doctor this year. The final set, To Travel in Hope, didn't really appeal to me too much, and I didn't find the stories that engaging, but these sets here have had some absolute beauties. But let's move on to a series that I did engage with, and that is the Sixth Doctor Adventures, and this is the end of the Purity Saga. Last year we were introduced to a brand new companion for the Sixth Doctor, played by Ruth Madeley, and I said last year about how much I enjoyed it, and that the second box set led into something that I was very fascinated to see play out. And here it is being played out across these 2 box sets. I have to admit, this box set here, I believe, has some very strange turns in it, where Mel ends up playing in an American musical full of aliens, which is a bit strange. But the Purity plotline itself is some of the best work from Big Finish this year. I think that the moral dilemmas that the Doctor is put through, the explanations and these philosophical ideas about how people think, why people think that way, without spoiling it, of course, I think that having a villain so well set up and so fascinating has made a really interesting Sixth Doctor range. I'm very fascinated to see what they're going to do this year with it, because are they going to continue the same characters and just continue to do other things, or are we going to go up and down his timeline a little bit? Whether I'm going to get it or not, I haven't decided. But the Sixth Doctor is doing very, very well on Big Finish, I have to say. And to finish off, I realise this isn't an audio, but this is in fact a book. It's the book of art of Doctor Who Audio Adventures. This came out for the 60th anniversary, and I think that it's absolutely gorgeous. You have tons of very glossy paper with lovely full images of stories. For example, there's one for the Genesis of the Daleks episode that they did. So you get loads and loads of them. For example, there's Pioneers from the Ninth Doctor Adventures that we talked about earlier. So you get the image, you get a little bit of a write-up about the cover as well, and there's over 100 of these in here, and they're really fascinating to look at in such enlarged detail. It's always quite sad that these covers don't get a lot of appreciation when it comes to the actual CDs themselves, as in that on a large scale looks a lot better than it does in this tiny CD format. Also, the thing's absolutely huge. It was an expensive purchase, but one I don't regret. And so that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure you give it a like and subscribe. I hope to do a Big Finish sort of collection video and a room tour in the near future. Once I've got my room tidied, which is something that takes a long time. Let me know down in the comments below what has been your favourite release of 2023 and if I featured it in today's video. So until next time, thank you very much and goodbye.